Hey fellow woodchuckers, thought I'd give you the scoop on this processor that I came up with. And it's actually a weave deal. I didn't do it myself. I had some ideas, and I have a welder guy who's just amazing with being able to take ideas and make it happen. So I'm not a welder, but he did a great job helping me out with it. So I'm going to give you the scoop on how I did it, and I'll throw in some videos watching it running. So here we go. So one of the things I do with my saws that are kind of unique is that I'm running square ground chain, which you can see here. It's a full chisel tooth, like a lot of folks will run a full chisel chain, but I'm square grinding it, and I also modify it to make it cut faster as well as stay sharper longer. You can see where I'm cutting the backs off. And I actually grind the sides off there. So if this is something that you're interested in, I do have another video that shows what I call modification for speed. So you'll see on the video when it's running in the processor, it cuts pretty nice. So to start, this is the remnants of my wood splitter, where it used to have the engine, hydraulic tank, and valve on it. I stripped that off, and now I'm just left with an axle, was the cylinder rod. And I got myself one of those cylinders from Timberwolf, which has a 3.5-inch rod. You'll see that working. And that, I believe it's a 4.5-inch cylinder, I think. But that's plenty of power. I mean, I can shear a piece of wood right in half on those wedges. Quickly on my wedges, I'm doing 6-way for my furnace, works really good. And I actually stage the splitters back like this so that the hydraulic pressure is not trying to split the piece all at one shot. So you can see it's kind of a progressive split. It works pretty good. I have 11 horse Honda engine, hydraulic tank, hand winch, running the log deck. I kept it pretty simple. This is not a processor that you can just sit on your seat and push levers and so on, but you'll see how it works when I throw in the videos here. So that's the quick nickel tour, and away we go. show you a few modifications that I have planned. The processor works pretty nice the way it is, but a little faster, do a few little tweaks to it, and we'll get that together, you know, for next fall, for next year's wood, but I'll explain what I'm going to do here. So one of the modifications is to put this regeneration valve that I also got from Timberwolf, and you can check out their YouTubes and they explain this. I saw the idea at an equipment show, a logging show, and they tried to explain that to me about 4 times, how this all works. And I'm going to make my attempt at how this works. And basically, the simple way to say it is, that valve gives the wood splitter a 3rd gear. So if you think of a wood splitter as having 1st gear and 2nd gear. 2nd gear, you throw your lever, you've got X gallons of oil going into the cylinder, pushes your rod out, and when the rod comes up against something that's really hard to split, your pump will drop down, will stage down into what we call 1st stage, which means you've got less oil trying to push the rod out. It slows down. It pushes through the hard splitting wood. As soon as it gets through that hard section, your pump kicks back into the 2nd stage, and that would be 2nd gear. What this valve does, when the rod is going out, instead of this oil from the rod end going back to your tank, and you're left with only the gallonage coming from your pump pushing the rod out, this valve will actually divert the oil from the rod end and supplement the oil going into the cylinder end, which means that rod is going to come out faster. So you get the gallonage from the pump plus the gallonage from this oil on the rod side. There's a pressure set valve on this so that when your rod comes up and starts to split the wood, that pressure valve kicks in, so to speak, and at that point it drops the splitter back to 2nd gear, which we would think of as being normal. Then comes up against something hard, 1st gear on the pump. If there's nothing really difficult to split, the pump stays in 2nd gear, and then your rod returns to start it over. So that's the way I think of that regeneration valve, is it increases the speed of the rod going out without needing to increase the gallonage off of your pump, which when you do that, you're creating a lot of heat. You need a larger reservoir, because that would, obviously your pump would be running that kind of gallonage all the time. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how this is going to work out. Another improvement I'm going to do, and that is I'm going to get a small pump on this engine. This is a 5-horse. So I'm sure you'll notice when you watch the video of it working that when I feed the log forward on the deck, that is robbing some oil from the splitter ram. So I've got that delay when I feed the log forward. I'm going to throw a small pump on this, and that will run just the feed for the log. That way, when I'm splitting, that all the oil from my 11-horse engine, Honda, is going to be going splitting wood, and it doesn't have to do both at the same time. So there you go. There's the basics of it. It's been fun putting it together, as we all try to do with this wood splitting thing. I kind of enjoy working up the wood, but if we can make things work a little smoother, a little faster, I'm all about it. So, got any questions? I'm happy to try to answer them. Take care.